Welcome to another episode of VGN Weekly. Members of the Virtual Grip crew will recap the previous week's races and bring us one-on-one interviews with racers, league owners, and commentators, as well as others from within the sim racing community. Please like and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our broadcasts. If you are a league owner or potential sponsor and have a broadcasting need, please visit virtualgrip.net for info on how to get in touch with us. Thanks for tuning in today. Now let's go find some grip.
The Bootleg Racing League Outlaw Modified Invitational Series visited America's most famous short track, Hickory Motor Speedway, on Saturday night with a whopping 24 cars doing battle for 100 laps in the SK Modifieds. Old-time Donnie Moore led them to the green flag and would control the race early. Drivers would find it hard to drive through the field, as parity would be the name of the game, with equal lap times from top to bottom. We would see a long green flag run early in the race, and Steven Spies would start to put pressure on the 26 of Donnie Moore after the right front tire started to give up on Moore 35 laps into the race. Moore would make a daring move, cutting off the nose of the 9 of Alan Wanamaker to maintain the second position. Spies would start to build a gap over Donnie Moore late in the race, but a caution flag would fly with just 6 laps to go after Mark Herzog got into Jeffrey Harden, setting the field up for a green-white checkered finish. On the restart, Spies would quickly jump to the lead, and the battle would be for the second position, where Alan Wanamaker worked to the inside of Donnie Moore to take that spot, while Steven Spies collected his second win of the season with just one race remaining on the season schedule. The Bootleg Racing League Late Model Invitational Series visited Hickory for the penultimate round of the season, with Kurt Smith trying to defend his narrow point lead headed into the race. Steven Spies, fresh off his modified win, would start from the pole, and he would waste no time getting away from the snarling pack of cars. The race stayed clean and green, with Spies in control for the first 36 laps, but the caution would fly, and it would involve point leader Kurt Smith when James Lowe got into his back bumper as the drivers tried to check up for John Wilson spinning right in front of them. The drama would continue for Kurt Smith when he got into the back of newcomer Edward Foster out of turn 4 on lap 60, causing Smith to get into the outside wall while Foster took a barrel roll down the front stretch. Lap 84 would prove to be a pivotal moment in the championship battle, as Mark Herzog would be sent up the track after contact from Jeffrey Harden and would get turned around out of turn 4, collecting a large part of the field. The points contender Bruce Pearson would squeeze through the carnage to position himself in the top 5, while points leader Kurt Smith would be buried deep in the field with more damage from this incident. The field would be set for the final restart with 10 laps remaining, and Steven Spies would establish his dominance as he had done all night, but Jeffrey Harden would mount a late charge in the final laps of the race, bearing down on the 55 machine. But Spies would hold on to sweep the evening at Hickory, while Bruce Pearson would take the points lead and a 6-point margin over Kurt Smith, with Todd Liston only one additional point back, setting up a thrilling championship battle heading into our final race of the season next Saturday night at Five Flags.
And welcome back to VGN. This week we welcome Ruben Altice, who is going to join us for our weekly conversation. Ruben first joined BRL all the way back in 2018. He started, his first start was in a street stock at New Smyrna. Since then, he has gone on to 475 starts. That includes a 9.3 average finish. That includes 12 wins, 135 top fives, 295 top tens, and Ruben has 3 championships. He's a season 23 street stock champion, season 3 and season 4 mini stock champion. And Ruben, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me on. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, you got a lot of wins in there, a couple of championships there. Which one's which championship do you remember the most, and what was it like? What's it like being a champion?
I think winning the mini stock, I don't know what it was about that. It was just a fun class we did. Even though it wasn't a true mini stock, we had a lot of fun in that class, and it was just one of them cars I just figured out really quick and enjoyed the heck out of that every week.
Well, that one, it was a new car. I mean, iRacing just recently released it. So, yeah, if you picked up on it, you sure did do it really, really fast, actually. So, well, congratulations on the championships. And, I always start these shows. Everybody knows where I start these shows, and it's, about iRacing. Tell me a little bit about how you found iRacing, and then how did you find the BRL?
Uh, Back in, I don't know, I'm gonna give or take around 2016. Uh, my slot car career ended because the track shut down. I had went into some quarter scale racing at that time too, which is a totally different game of its own. And I got out of that and looked for iRacing because I'd heard so much about it, and I really wanted to do it. But I had been in an area where we had no internet, and I fought to get the internet here. And as soon as I got it here, that's where I got into iRacing. Was I mean, it's somewhere along in 2016, 17. I can't even really remember.
When you first signed up, was there a car track? I mean, did you sign up to like run NASCAR, or were you looking for short track? What were you looking for when you signed into iRacing?
Oh, that is easy. I run a million street stock races. I absolutely love that car. I mean, when I first got that's I bet you 99% of the time that's what I ran for the first year or two. I mean, that was my favorite by far, day after day.
What about that car causes you to kind of gravitate towards it?
Well, it reminded me a lot of, like a car that ran at my local short track, and I just always loved that class, and to get to race it, just I don't know, it was just a connection for me.
Is there a track that you kind of like taking it to? Is there a track that you gravitated to with that car?
Uh, in the beginning, I ran all of them because I didn't know nothing at all about none of them, but after I got used to it, and I love. Most people probably hate this track, but I like Langley, and that's one I like a flat track. And I, yeah, that's the one I know a lot of people don't like.
Well,
But quick
they're probably
story.
like me. They don't like them because they can't drive them. So you're ahead of the game being able to drive those. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Like I say, the reason I first started running it, I hated it too. It was like I was running the official races, and I was just dreading when it came up. Well, I got hooked up with this guy. We formed a team, me and him and another guy, and he drove actual race cars, and he was only like 14, but he ran the legend cars at like Atlanta and Charlotte. And we went into some private sessions on iRacing, and he showed me how to drive Langley. And I give him credit for showing me what to do there. And it was all about me overdriving it and pushing up every turn. And he said he just helped me tremendously at that track.
Well, what he showed you with the street stock, did that roll over to other cars? Because mostly here in BRL, we run, SKs and late models.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. You're just going a lot faster. I mean, he helped me a lot. I can't give him enough credit. He was young, but he knew how to drive a car. I'll give him that.
Yeah, as someone who's older myself, sometimes whenever you hear, you just get your doors blown off, and then you hear them on a broadcast or something doing an interview, and you're like, man, I just got my butt kicked by a whippersnapper, But we try to hold our own, that's for sure. But when you first logged on, you're running the street stocks. How did you find BRL?
I was running in another league called the American Speed Racing Association, and it lasted several years. And I'm almost scared to use this name here. I don't know if I'll just tell you who told me about it was Brian Neff, and
Okay.
he was in that same league, and he had mentioned the BRL, and I started getting interested in it. And as you know, you have to sign up for street stock and hope you can get your way into the
Yep.
other classes. And Laura let me in, and finally I moved up a class or two, and after a while.
Well, and once you moved up, obviously, like I said, the two mainstays have never been the street stock, which sounds like that's your bread and butter. Is there a favorite car on some of those premier series that BRL runs that you kind of gravitate to?
I really love the late models. I didn't think I would, but once we got in them and got to run them, at first, and it was still is to a degree, you burn your tires up so easy. Like this past Saturday night, it was just like a nightmare there towards the end. I could not get the car to turn. I just wore the tires out.
Yeah, and that's added such a cool dynamic to the racing, the new tire models and all that kind of stuff. How long did that take you to kind of adjust to that? Because prior to that, we could run those suckers pretty hard before we'd have a tire issue.
Oh yeah, that's new tire model they did, and it redesigned of that car. It was like night and day, and it took me, I don't know, I kept burning the tires off of it, trying to win it on the first lap. And I said, you know what? You ain't getting nowhere doing this. Just lay back and don't be stupid every week and burn your tires off. And even if you don't do that, there are still tracks where you just don't know exactly what to do, and you'll still burn them off. And that's kind of what I did at Hickory. I just had nothing at the end.
Yeah, and well, in Hickory, you're turning, you're putting so much wheel so often in that track. I mean, it's not quite as bad as Oxford Plains, where you're always turning. It feels like, but that races over the weekend, this past weekend, were a lot of fun there at Hickory, and what a cool track! What a cool addition to iRacing. We recently went to a track for the first time, Oswego. You talk about the tire model. So when you approach a new track like that with this tire and everything else, when we go out and practice, what are you trying to accomplish when we go out and practice? Are you looking for a baseline for the tires, or are you just looking for where you can run comfortably?
Trying to get it to where I'm not having to put so much wheel in it and use a ton of brake to get the car to turn. Because if you can kind of get it to roll in the middle of the turn, you're going to be just fine. But I learned that the hard way. I thought you had to run it in with everything you had and ram in on your brakes. And once I figured that out, it was a big difference. Not that I'm good at it now, but it's just at least I can run in the top 10 maybe on a good week.
Yeah, that's as a dirt guy, that was the hardest thing for me to kind of wrap my hands around is getting those things turned and stuff like that. And you're absolutely right about keeping that momentum up with putting as least amount of wheel in as you can really seems to be the key. Um, if I was to ask you what's your driving style, how do you feel like your driving style is naturally?
Kind of laid back. Try to be. Honestly, I don't like starting up front. I know it sounds crazy, but I'd rather start mid pack to the back and just kind of let everybody else burn up their stuff, hopefully, and work your way by them. And if you start up front on a track, especially like Hickory, it's so crowded, it's hard to stay out of the way. I mean, either you, yeah,
Yeah, there's really not a whole lot of places to kind of get out of the way there, is there?
no,
I
sir.
think last night yeah, this past weekend, that was my first opportunity to run there, and yeah, that was an eye opener, how little room there actually is there. Um, how long did it take you to kind of, because you said when you first started, you were attacking the corners and all that, how long did that take you to kind of learn to kind of back those corners up a little bit?
A long, long time. I just like I say the young guy that helped me. We sort of was teammates. He taught me a lot, and but still, even with the late models we have now, I had to relearn all that because I was still just pushing it too much. That car is just so finicky now. It's certain tracks in particular.
Yeah, and that track too, or not that track, but that car too will withstand a lot early. I mean, you can push that car hard early, and it's so tempting not to, or to do that because you could drive those cars in really deep and they'll still make the corners. But man, I tell you, that y- to me was really, really hard to figure out. Um, iRacing has a whole lot of different, disciplines and types of cars. Do you ever venture out and do anything other than oval or just these short track cars? You do anything with the NASCAR or IndyCar or anything like that?
No, I used to do a little bit of the I call it jump racing, the speedway racing, and I don't really do much of that anymore because unless you get in with a good group of guys, it's going to be a big wrecking turn one, as we all know. And unless you're in a league, and I don't know many leagues around it does big stuff like it that I've been a part of at all. So I love short track racing and pretty much going to stick to that.
Well, I have to assume you got into iRacing. You mentioned that you did slot car racing, which we'll get to here in just a minute. But it sounds like you're a big racing fan. What got you into racing, and where did you find your love of racing at?
Oh, that's an easy one there. When I was 7 years old, we had a track open up like 15 or 20 minutes from home and at Franklin County Speedway. And my daddy took me to the first race, and it was run on Friday nights at that time. And we didn't miss hardly any week. And back in those days, you had modifieds there. It would be 18 to 20 modifieds. 15 to 20 late models, and they had a hobby division, and it'd be 10 to 12,000 people there every week, standing room only, and I loved that track. I mean, I grew up just going to that track every week, and went there until the 90s, and a new guy took it over in the 80s, and he did pretty good for a while, and he kind of run it in the ground, and I kind of got ill and quit going.
Well, growing up, do you remember anybody, any particular drivers that were, was your guy, the one that you always went out there to either root for or even maybe even root against? So a guy, usually sometimes it comes across where a guy wins a lot of the races, so you go there just to see him get beat. Did you have either one of those?
Well, at Franklin County Speedway, pretty much you was a Power Effort fan or a Satch Whirly fan. There was a lot of the cars there, as I was telling you, 18 to 20 modifieds every week. But those were your two main ones, and I was always a Power Effort fan. And you just didn't want to see Satch Whirly beat him. That was just the way it was, And
Satch
yeah,
Worley.
that's
Ah, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
yeah, that's a local guy too. He's from Rocky Mount, which is right down the road here. Unless he's moved, I haven't heard from him in years. But like I say, Paul Raff, and he lives about 2 miles up the road from me. And I don't know why I just picked Paul Raffin out. I have no idea why, but he's good. I can tell you that. He's one of two drivers that won both races at Martinsville back when they run the modified and late model on the same day. Him and Ray Hendrick did it, and he's raced everywhere. That dude, he's like 95 years old now, but in his day he could wheel them cars. I'll give him that.
Well, being there in Rocky Top, there, North Carolina, and all that area there's so much history, especially with stock car racing and all general. I mean, for the longest time, I mean, you could find the who's who running those short tracks there. Who is somebody that you saw, up and coming that turned out to be a pretty big deal? Can you recall anybody like that?
Bill, let's see, Franklin County Speedway. I mean, I don't know, like Tony McGuire was one that surprised me. He never really made it huge, but the first year he ran, his daddy bought him a super well built or whatever, super nice V8 street car. And he couldn't get around the track. He would spin out every 3 laps. And the next year he came back and won probably half of the races. And he did win one of the Martinsville races, which is big in this area because usually there you have around 100 cars shows up for 40-car field, and if you can win that, you've done a lot. And he was
Yeah.
able to do that one time, so I give him credit for that.
You went outside your local. Is there any other series or any other kind of form of racing that you follow?
No, not really. Just
Not
NASCAR and
NASCAR.
NASCAR and like your short tracks. That's Bowman Gray. I love Bowman Gray. I've
What do you
never been there,
What do you
but I
think of
love.
the Clash coming into Bowman Gray next year?
That's going to be interesting to watch. As tiny a track as that is. I mean, I don't even know where they're going to put the haulers at outside. I know they're going to be outside the track, but still, that's going to be a mess, I think. But that's going to be fun to watch.
They need to put a boxing ring in the middle of the track, in my opinion. So,
Yeah,
um,
pretty much. Yeah.
yeah. So you talk about Bowman Gray and you're NASCAR, following NASCAR. You and I talked yesterday about Robert Presley and tell me about the times you got to watch him race, and then that's kind of who you followed, kind of growing up a little bit.
Yeah. Back in the '80s, where I lived, you didn't have no internet. You didn't have no TV, no nothing but what you could get over the air. And finally, they ran cable through by my house, and I was able to watch my first TV racing. So I turned on the Bush race, and I love a black, white, and gold car. And Robert Presley was driving the Alliance '59 car, black, white, and gold, and that's my driver. And it stuck. I mean, I followed him for years until he retired. I mean, got out of it. But it was all because he was driving the black, white, and gold Alliance car. I don't know. Just I thought that was a beautiful car.
I think his son just won a Cup championship spotting for Joey Logano this past year. So Presley name is still going in the NASCAR circles.
Yeah, you hear him on TV a lot. I don't know how he got there, but he's doing a good job with that. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's one
Last I heard,
job in racing I don't think I would want. I'd be so nervous about that. Those guys that do those spotting. Holy cow, that's got to be nerve wracking.
yeah, you'd have to be a special kind of person to do that and make that work because I mean, just hundredths of a second makes all the difference of your driver wrecking and it's going to be your fault partially because you
Yep,
told him he was clear, even though he ain't. I
yep.
wouldn't
You
want to
see
do
that
it.
on a weekly basis, actually. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
That's definitely a thankless job. But anybody other than Robert, being in that area, like I said, and you followed NASCAR for a little bit, especially back in the '80s, which a lot of people will say is that the heyday of NASCAR. Big Earnhardt fan, or Wallace, or Waltrip, or any of those guys.
Uh, Darrell Waltrip was probably second, and I picked that drive was after they. You had to pick out somebody I knew as they retired, so I went with Darrell Waltrip. Don't know why, just picked him out. And then when he kind of got out, uh, I picked somebody. The last, well, still is my favorite driver. And I picked him out because everybody hated him, especially some of my family members. They could not stand him. That was Kyle Busch. And I did it all when he got in trouble with any truck series for wrecking. I can't remember who he wrecked, but
Oh, Hornaday.
yeah, that's it. He wrecked
Yeah.
him, and it was so much hate for him. And I said, well, I'm looking for somebody to pull for. So I said, that's my driver right there. I'm always the underdog.
Always the underdog. That's very cool. Well, you mentioned a little bit ago about doing the slot car racing and that kind of stuff. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, for years and years and years, I don't even know how many years this went on, but I've always loved slot cars. And we had a track open up in Roanoke, Virginia, and it was 1,000 scale foot drag slot car strip. And it works pretty much exactly like real drag racing because you got your computer system, you got your tree, and you got your cars, and there's all kinds of racing. You had bracket racing, which you want to be consistent in. You had heads up racing, which you want to be the fastest. And it was something about that I got hooked on. For and they have different sites on Facebook where you sell stuff and talk about events coming up like it. And nobody that I know of had developed a car that you didn't have to run wheelie bars with. So I got one, I made one out of pieces and parts. And once I figured out the combination of motor, gears, weight, tires, and all of that, I posted a slow-mo video of the car running on the track and posted it on Facebook on one of the slot car sites. And there was a lot of interest in it. And a couple of people asked if I would build them one, and I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." And it, and I was smart enough to, well, God gave me the knowledge to do this. I wanted every chassis I sent out to do good. I wanted to be a winner, so I put my setups so they would know exactly what to do when they got it. And people started winning with my chassis, and it was like everybody had to have one. And I stayed busy after work for years. I built over 500 of these things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the cars I got, when I started out, I was no good at building a complete car. I mean, I did as far as painting and stuff. And over the years, I learned how to do that and got pretty good at it to where they looked pretty much like a real car sitting there. I actually had one lady I posted on Facebook, and a lady local said, "Don't get her driving that car. That's how real it looked." I sold, I don't know, I probably built between 150 and 200 of them because I would build them for myself, and then I would sell them once I got tired of them so I could build something else. But I loved it. That was my hobby by far. But when the track closed, that was one of the saddest days. I'm gonna tell you, it hurt.
What about your setup then made it head and shoulders, do you think, above everybody else's?
Well, it was just nobody had done the no wheelie bar car. We call them no
Mhm.
bar cars, and I just kept trying different gear ratios until I got the right one, and then I kept trying different motors till I got the right motor. And in this class, all it matters is if you got a consistent car. Let's just say it runs 10.25. If it'll do that every time, we'll be close to it. That's all that matters, as long as you're consistent. Because the tree staggers. If say the other guy runs 9.25, well, you're gonna leave way before that guy, and
Yeah.
it's hard for him to sit there and not red light. And it's all about cutting a good light in your car, running the numbers. It's basically what it comes down to. And pretty much every race is like just hundreds of thousands of a second. You can't mess up or you out.
How fast were they going? How fast can you get those up to?
Okay, the last I've heard, now it's been a while since I've really been into this, but in less than a half a second, they will run over 100 mile an hour actual speed from a
Wow.
dead stop. Yeah. The fastest one I saw in person, a guy I know out of Eden, North Carolina, come to the Roanoke track, and he run 90 some mile an hour there in less than a half a second. And that was cruising.
That's
Now
incredible.
the cars I was building, like I said, it didn't matter about the speed. They were running around 40 to 45 mile an hour.
And well, that's still kind of moving for what it is there. So that is really cool. You said that you were doing the drag, but then after the drag, you said you were doing some other kind of slot cars too.
Uh, yeah, I got into quarter scale RC racing,
Hmm.
and those are, I don't know if you've ever saw or not. They're
Yeah.
around 4 feet long, and they got like a modified weed eater motors for lack of what they really are, and they run off of racing fuel. And we got a track, I don't know, 30 minutes from my house, and I went there and got into that, and I was having a blast running there. And one of my friends from his slot car days, he bought one, and we were going to be teammates because he said, I know a little bit about setting them up. And these guys we were racing against, they helped develop quarter scale racing. So you better know your stuff. I mean, they were good. And I knew I wasn't going to win none, but I still wanted to be a little bit competitive. And by the time we got our cars about halfway set up to where they would run, he quit. And a few weeks after that, I said, you know what? I'm just going to call it quits and get into our racing if I can. And that's when I started aggravating the phone company to, that's the only option we had through here to get internet. And it's amazing that we got it because I bugged these people 7 days a week. Every time I saw a technician on the side of the road, I stopped and talked to them. And they said, there's no reason you shouldn't get it. And I fought for 6 months every day to get the internet through here. And thank God finally they put it in. But
Well, in iRacing, I mean, there's a lot of costs associated with some of the gear and then buying the tracks and the cars and all that kind of stuff. But once you get going, it's pretty probably a little better cost efficient than running those RC cars and those slot cars, man. That all that sounds really expensive.
yeah, the quarter scale stuff could be expensive if you, the initial cost was really high. If you bought one brand new, it's looking at $3,000 for just the car, and then you still had to have the radio. You had to have a lap counter, this scores the car and all this stuff. So, which I bought one used for $1,500, which is still a lot of money. And if as fast as those things run, if you was to wreck it and bend your frame, I don't know what it would cost to get it back fixed. And thank God I never did do that. But I didn't want to find out because I didn't have the money to fix it.
Yeah. The nice thing is you bounce off a wall in iRacing. Hey, you could just go get a quick repair or live to fight another day. You don't have to put the man hours to fix it. You don't have to make the expense. So, and they don't hurt. Well, real life, anyways, driving it, they don't hurt quite as much. But it's very cool that you're able to transition and still find that and scratch that competitive itch. I hear that from a lot of folks. that I talk to that have done either, played sports competitively or raced or whatever, scratching that competitive itch, iRacing definitely accomplishes that. We also talked yesterday about, some of your other interests and stuff like that. You sound like quite the outdoorsman. You like to hunt, fish, kayak. You know, Pick one of those. Which one do you enjoy doing the most and get the most satisfaction from?
Well, it's kind of funny. My wife and grandkids had kayaked for 10 years, and I can't swim, so I never would buy one. I was terrified of them, right? I mean, that's just
Mm.
pretty common sense, right? And my wife kept on, you need to get one, you need to get one. We'll have so much fun. We'll have so much fun. I said, yeah, I don't like to drown either, but so finally, this past summer, I got to watching some videos of the most stable kayak you can buy, and I ended up buying one. And I got out there, and I ain't gonna lie, the first time I went, which I had a life jacket on, I was a ball of nerves out there, especially with boats running by and all that. And after I did that a few times, and I started fishing off of it, and now I could go up there and live on a lake and fish. I mean, she fusses at me now because I'm out there too much. I mean, has a little bit, but she loves it just as much as I do, and she fishes when I fish, and uh, but she said, I couldn't get you out there now. I can't get you off the lake. And we also have a boat. We plan on using more this year. We didn't use it much this year because all we did was kayak because it was something new, I guess, and which I'm planning on still doing that this year. I can't wait for it to warm back up so I can get out there because I am hooked by far. And it was something I said you will never catch this boy doing.
Do you basically mostly stay out on lakes, or do you go down like rivers or streams and stuff like that with the kayaks?
No, I'm blessed to have Philpott Lake. It's about, if I went to one part of it, I'm 5 minutes away, and where I put in mostly is maybe 10 minutes up the road. So I'm
Gotcha.
really blessed to be able to go there, and it's not a lake where there's any houses on anything, so it's not usually it's not a bad lake to go to. I mean, we got another lake in the county that has houses all over it. I wouldn't go there if you paid me. I mean, it's just too many boats on it and people running wide open, and no
Makes
way I get out there on a
search.
kayak. Yeah.
What? Well, when you do get to go out on your kayak and fish a little bit, what are you catching out there?
Well, on the kayak, and this is the first year I've really done this too, I fish for bass, and I did pretty good this year fishing for bass, and it's something I'd always told my friends I would never do because on my boat I always bottom fished. I just go out there and me and my wife would anchor down somewhere and cast out there on the bottom. We got rod holders on the boat, and you sit there and eat a snack or something or other and sit back and enjoy it, your time out on the water. And I said, you will never catch me throwing no artificial lures. It's just something I'll never do. And now I've got a whole tackle box full of lures and talking about which be the next one I'll get because I am totally hooked on. Love the top water baits because you get that big blow up on top of the water. And I was blessed maybe on my, I don't know, fourth or fifth time out to catch one that weighed probably 5 pounds. And to see that blow up on top of the water, that hooked me by a long shot.
That's very cool. If you got a Bass Pro nearby, go there and get some Mega Bass lures. You'll be happy with the results of those. Those suckers are awesome.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, I love it. Whopper ploppers. You ever use them
no, I
or
have
heard
not.
of them?
Nope, I
They
haven't used them. I've heard of them. I know what they are, but I haven't used them.
yeah. Yeah, I love them things so far. I mean, I've had really good luck with them.
Well, you also talk about hunting and whatnot. I presume you're just deer, or do you ever get out a chance to go and hunt anything other than that? pheasant, turkeys, anything?
Well, when I grew up, so when I was really young, me and my daddy squirrel hunted together. And I mean, we couldn't wait for squirrel season. And as I've grown older, I just ain't got the heart to kill the squirrels anymore. But I've got squirrels on my land, but I just won't shoot them. And we've been deer hunting a little bit, and we bought 8 acres of land in I think it was 2020, and we built a little hunting cabin out there. We did it ourselves with my brother-in-law's help, and we built 3 deer blinds where you can get up in there and set in, and you can kind of go out there and kind of lay back and sit. We got a wood stove in it, and we got a ceiling fan in it, and it's just a place you can hang out. And like I say, we deer hunt out there and enjoy it. Do a little skeet shooting every now and then. We got that set up and targets to shoot at, and it's just a fun place to go to hang out and relax.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed hunting, and then but not so much going out and uh, I guess actually the getting bagging a buck or whatever, but just the hanging out in camp and just kind of relaxing and enjoy. I don't know why that's always for me anyway been probably my favorite part of those trips actually. Um, it's nice to kind
Yeah,
of relax and unplug. Um, is there anywhere particular you go to hunt there, or do you stick in North Carolina, like around on like on do you just stay on your property, or do you go anywhere else?
no, actually, I'm from Fern, Virginia. It's where
Oh,
I'm from.
Virginia. I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep thinking North Carolina. I apologize.
You, no, you okay? No, I don't. I just stick out there at my land because it's about a mile at the road from my house. Really convenient, and I don't know. I got other places I could go, I guess, but I just like because it's mine, and you can kind of go there and do what you want.
That's fair enough. I'm jealous. I don't have that kind of property to go and do that with, so I can live vicariously for you then. Um,
Yeah.
well, Ruben, it's been really cool getting to talk to you and whatnot, and I kind of want to wrap up a little bit by going back into kind of iRacing a little bit. And, we got a new season that's going to be upon us here. Are you planning on sticking with just running BRL? Are you going to run for a championship next season? Or are you going to just kind of be hit and miss whenever you can make it in? What are your plans?
I would love to make every race. I don't know if I can because of family commitments. We we go camping up here at the lake some, and if I can, I'll be there every week. I'll put it that way. I would love to run for a championship if I can.
Are you have any plan? Because I know now VGN next year is going to have a lot of different series. We're going to be covering Yesteryear, which is going to be a modified series. Uh, we're going to do Red Light, which is also going to be a modified series. Do you have any plans on running any of those other series?
I hadn't thought about it. Uh, I noticed one of them was, I think, on Thursday night,
Yep, that's Red Light.
and yeah, and one of the leagues that I'm associated with, uh, they run street stocks on
Oh,
Thursday night. And one of my friends that was in the original league was actually one of the owners of that. Uh,
nice.
he invited me to come over and run with him. And it is tempting to run that modified race, but I hate to leave him hanging too. I mean, me and him go back to almost the beginning of my iRacing career.
Yeah, but it's a street stock. You said those street stocks are kind of near and dear to you, so I could totally get. I've chosen where to run just based on the car they run. So it's okay. I can get that totally. Um, when next season, we're gonna do both again the SK and the late model. So between the two of those, do you have a preference between the two of those that you kind of want to really that you focus more into?
Late model.
Late model.
I love the late models. As far as watching them, if they were like your real cars, I'd rather see a modified race. But as far as actually driving them myself, I like your late models better. I just have a better feel for that car for some reason.
You picked a win up earlier this year, didn't you, in those?
Yeah, at RP, it was something other about that night. I don't know. It was just one of them nights where everything went my way, and I didn't burn your tires off for a change. Just, I guess is what it was, and
Well, just
I
out of
didn't push. I didn't
curiosity,
have. Yeah,
as I say, just out of curiosity, before you won, what was your impression of IRP?
I liked it. It was one of them tracks where I never dreamed I would win on. I will put it that way, because at BRL, there's some tough people to race against in this league. I'll put it that way, and to get there and be able to win it, it felt really good. I'll put it that way.
Well, you did say you prefer those flat tracks. IRP is fairly flat, so that kind of did go into your wheelhouse a little bit.
Yeah, it's like Oswego. I really enjoy that one too because it's kind of flat.
Yeah, Oswego is that's an excellent track to the surface. That one actually went up to my one of my favorite tracks pretty quick, especially on the dirt side. Um,
Yeah.
but well, Ruben, I want to thank you for your time and everything else here. And I always wrap these up with kind of doing a little bit of a green white checker thing. So kind of a quick reaction from you. You ready to play along?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
All right. Would you rather kayak or hang out on the boat all day?
Kayak.
Why?
It's something about the kayak, and I've told a lot of people this because they ask me that question all the time, believe it or not. You can get places on that kayak you can't get with your boat. I've been in areas where the water was 6 inches deep, and you ain't gonna do that on a boat. And that's
No.
why I love being up in there, and it's so peaceful and quiet. I just love it.
Okay. 1980s NASCAR or 2020s NASCAR?
Oh, that's easy. Anything but the new NASCAR. It don't matter as long as it's old. Yeah.
Short track racing when you grew up or short track NASCAR racing when you grew up?
Local short tracks.
Local
Ain't
short
nothing
track.
like a local short track. Nothing will ever change my mind on that. It's just, I don't know, something. I guess it's where I grew up with it,
Yep.
and I just love it.
Very cool. Well, very cool. Thank you for playing along there a little bit. And before we sign off, we always preview the next race coming up here. Are you going to make it to Five Flags this coming weekend?
I plan on being there. As far as I know, there's nothing going to keep me away from this.
What are your thoughts on Five Flags? What do you like about the track? What do you maybe not like about the track?
I have a love-hate relationship with that track. It's like I think I have it figured out, and then I end up pushing, coming off a turn and touching a wall or something other, messing myself up. But if I can, I've almost got that track figured out, and ain't neither. So we'll see what happens. I hope I can at least be in the top 10. Hopefully, be nice to win it, but
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, it's one of them things where I've almost got it figured out, and ain't neither.
I always feel that way too, and then I'll get there and the weather will be different from last time, and all of a sudden you got to relearn everything again, just because the tires will heat up a little bit more or whatever. But the one thing that stands out to me there is the cornering speed in that track too. We go to a few of those,
Yeah.
and the center of the corners, you are absolutely flying still. Very very little scrub speed getting through those corners, and that always makes it really really challenging getting out of the corners. Like you said, it starts to push you, lift, and it just kills you a half a lap. It doesn't even kill your next straightaway. It kills a half a lap, maybe even a full lap to kind of regain that rhythm in there. So, I encourage everybody to tune in. I can also tell you, the track is really fun. I think it'll be a 2-lane track. We've seen that a few times. There's also some really tight championship battles in both divisions, so I can't wait to see how that plays out. I think there's only a few points separating several guys in both the late models and the modifieds, so that's going to be a really, really intense race because usually it's one or two guys that have a shot at a championship by the time that last weekend gets there. But if I'm not mistaken, I think both classes have several drivers that are into it. So it's, man, I'm telling you, it is going to be a barn burner. So you definitely don't want to miss tuning in Saturday night. So, but with that, Ruben, like I said, I really appreciate you taking some time here on and hanging out with us and letting us get to know you. And we've raced together a long time. And the funny thing is, you came in the league 2018, and you're almost still one of the newer guys just because of the length the folks stick in here. But 2018, I mean, that's you were talking 6 years. Been in here, and so good to finally talk to you and get to put a face to who you are and everything else. And we look forward to racing you. So thanks again for stopping by, man.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, and got to thank Lowell for putting on this league, for y'all broadcasting it every week. I mean, it's one of the most professional leagues I've been in, and I've been in several. And I mean, not taking nothing away from any other league. It's just this one is well run. I will say that. And that's why you have these people that's been here as long as all these drivers have. It's been here like 3 times as long as I have, but I don't plan on going nowhere unless Lord decides to kick me out.
Now, Ruben, I think you're welcome to be here at all times. I'm sure I can speak for Lowell on that part. So we're happy to have you, and again, thank you again.
Well, hey, I appreciate y'all having me, and this was a lot of fun. You take care of yourself.
I will. And from all of us here at VGN, we'd like to thank you for watching our conversation here with Ruben. And we will see you next week when we will have the Lipper, Chris Hazlip, as our guest. So until then, have a great week.
Coming up on VGN, BRL returns on December 14th for another doubleheader Saturday night, featuring the final rounds of the season for the modifieds and late models from Five Flag Speedway. Flag-to-flag coverage begins at 7:40 p.m. Eastern. On Tuesday, December 17th, the VGN Weekly Podcast will air at 9 a.m. Eastern with special guest Chris Hazlip from the Bootleg Racing League. Coming soon to VGN, Red Light Racing's Skidder Creek SK Modified Series will debut on January 9th, 2025. The inaugural Yesteryear Racing High Rock Series will air live on February 18th. And the VGN debut of Yesteryear Racing's 1966 Tour Modified Series will kick off on February 25th. You can see our full schedule at virtualgrip.net/calendar.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of VGN Weekly. Join us next time for race recaps, interviews, and much, much more. Please like and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our broadcasts. If you are a league owner or potential sponsor and have a broadcasting need, please visit virtualgrip.net for info on how to get in touch with us. This has been a production of the Virtual Grip Network and the Skidder Creek Motorsports Group.